All right, looks like it's about that time. We've got a small group today. This is what we are creating. So today I'm just going to work on a black background. It shows up better on camera. For this background here, I just thinned out some brown paint to make it look like it was a wood stain. And I created on that. So you've got a few different options you can do with your background. Really, any background color will work fine. I did our advanced artistry for this month on a really light background. Let me grab that. I'll show you what that turned out like. So originally I had created it in black, but I put it on this light purple background and it turned out really pretty. So don't be afraid to change up the background. I'm working on black. All right, the colors that we're using today are the same as last week. I've got tropical blue, crystal blue, Seaglass, lavender, stormy, and then in between here is just half and half, lavender and stormy. And those are the 6 colors I will be using. I've got my 16 arm stencil on the surface here. I'm using this little jewelry box. The dotting surface is about a little over 5 inches. Any surface 5 to 6 inches will work perfect for this. Oops, got paint jumping around. Okay, first we're gonna get our 8mm tool and I'm gonna make my center dot with Stormy. Next, I'm going to get my 1mm stylus and I'm going to create a ring around the center with the lavender and stormy mix. So 1mm is the smallest stylus I've got here. Oops, had a hair in there. Now I've got splatter. It always works like that. Just going to clean that up before it dries. Sorry, y'all. Okay. All right, 1mm, the lavender stormy mix. I'm going to do my north, south, east, and west to help get my guidelines marked. And I'm going to do halfway between those. That will give me a total of 8. And then I'm going to go halfway between those for a total of 16. All right, then we're going to get our 6mm tool and I'm going to add 8 dots in the lavender color, and these are going to go right on my T lines. So north, south, east, and west, and then halfway through, and this brings me to the first marked ring. Once I get my first 4, then I'm going to finish with the second 4 for a total of 8. Next, I'm going to make some swoops. I'm going to get my 2.5mm tool. Now, a lot of this design, if you look at the finished piece, is kind of cattywampus. It's not balanced. I did that on purpose. So for this step, I'm creating a swoosh on the right side only. I'm going to use my Lavender Stormy mixture, 2.5mm stylus, and I'm going to create swoops on the right hand side. And I'm going from the side closest to me inward with those swoops. And of course, anytime we create, you are allowed to change the design. So if having things off balance makes you crazy, you can always do the swoops on both sides. There's no rules here. All right, next on our guide, there is a correction. It says a 4mm tool. We do want to get an 8mm tool, and we're going to create tropical blue dots. So 8mm tropical blue, and these are going to go on the lines in between the previous row. So I'm going to go out one ring. I'm going to go just below the ring guideline. So I'm going to see that outside line. We want 8 of these, so it's every other line if you've got that 16-arm stencil. So that was 8 dots of tropical blue. Next, I'm going to get my 2.5mm tool. We're going to use the crystal blue. And we're going to walk the dots around these tropical blue dots we just made, but I'm going to make my center dot with this 2.5mm tool first. So 8 dots right in the center. Oops. Mixed my colors up there for a second. That was 2.5mm crystal blue, 8 dots in the center. Then we're going to go down a size to walk the dots. I'm going to get my 1.5mm tool. And I'm going to walk the dots with the Seaglass, the mint green, on each side. And actually on my sample, I walk the dots on both sides. I think today I'm just going to walk the dots on the right. I'm going to shake it up a little bit. You can do both, or you can do on the right. I think it gives it more of a pinwheel design when you just do one side. Then I'm going to grab my 3mm tool, and I'm going to go back to crystal blue, and I'm going to make another center dot right above the previous crystal blue dot. I'm going to clean off that tool, that 3mm tool, and I'm going to go into tropical blue, and I'm going to make a swoop on the right side of the dot we just created. Next, I'm going to get my 4mm rod, and I'm going to use Stormy Blue, and I'm going to put a 4mm dot at the bottom, so kind of in line with the end of this petal here. For me, that's the bottom of my T. I'm going to go on the lines. It's going to feel a little off balance, and that's because it is, because I'm creating kind of this pinwheely type design, but trust the lines because we've got these dots here that we're lining up. So 4mm Stormy, I'm going to put one dot in between each of those petals on the line. And we end up with 8 stormy dots. For the next step, I'm going to get my rhinestones out. So I used 8 rhinestones, and I'm going to put one of these next to each of the stormy dots I just made. So if you've got super glue or white glue or whatever you like to use for your rhinestones, we are going to put those, to show you the placement, we're going to put those right next to that blue dot. So the center of the rhinestone for me is really right on this ring. And remember, anytime you use the glue, it will seal in what's underneath it. So I'm actually going to wipe off these guidelines right where I'm putting it, just so you don't have to do this. I'm messy with my glue, so I don't want to seal the glue. I don't want to seal the marking line with my glue. So I'm just going to get rid of that a little bit. And I like to put my rhinestones on as I'm working because it helps me with the placement of the future dots around it. Some people like to trace them on there and then go back when they're finished. I find, just as a personal preference, that doesn't work so well for me. we're going to end up with 8 rhinestones. If you don't have rhinestones, they are about 7 millimeters across. So if you're substituting, you could use a 6 or 7 millimeter dot instead if you'd like. Hard. Sometimes I have such a steady hand, and other times it's a miracle that I can manage to do this stuff. Once you get the rhinestones placed on there, we're going to walk the dots on around the rhinestones. I want a 3 millimeter center, so I'm going to get my 3 millimeter tool, and I'm going to use my Lavender Stormy mix, and I'm going to create that center dot right up at the top of my rhinestone. I'm going to flip to the other side, 2.5 millimeters, and I'm going to walk the dots. You can do both sides, or you can just do the right side. Right, next we're going to start working on this part of the design where there's dots and swoops on the sides. And so I'm going to add a 4 millimeter center dot with Stormy. So I got my 4 millimeter tool. This Stormy dot goes right above what we just walked. So right above that rhinestone, there's a smaller dot and then the 4 millimeter dot. And then next to that, I'm going to create a swoop. Now you can do this swoop. It's kind of a longer one, so you can do it 2 different ways. You get my paper here. So if you want to do it with your stylus, you can use your 3mm tool, and it's a longer one. So what you would do, I'm going to draw the little rhinestone. Okay, here's our pretend rhinestone. What you can do is, we've got 2 dots here. All right, so it's a longer swoop, so you can dip, and then I would swoop halfway, dip, swoop again, and then if you need to, swoop a 3rd time to get all the way around. Usually I can do it with 2, sometimes I need 3. Or you can use a brush. So I know some of you are working on those brush strokes. So if you wanted to, you could dip into your paint. You could start up at the top, push down a little bit, and then lighten the pressure as you swoop. Now that one was pretty big because I'm working out a little bit. So it just depends on if you want to use your stylus tool or your brush. I'm going to try the brush today. But either way will create a swoop, and either way is correct. So I apply more pressure, and then I just lighten the pressure as the swoop goes down, if you're using the brush. Trying to give that a smush, drag, and lighten. Swish, drag, and lighten. Now we're going to do a couple layers of these dots and swipes, and they all go on the right hand side. Now we're going to repeat this with the 4mm tool and then the swooper swipe. I'm going to use Seaglass this time. And each time I place a dot, I need to mix this a little bit, getting a little goopy. Each time I place a new dot, I'm going to bring it inward towards the center just a little bit. So this dot here was up on my line. I'm going to go just below that line this time. But each time we make that swooper swipe, it's just going to be a little bit shorter because we're going in a little bit. And then once you have all 8 of those dots, then we do another swoopy swipe. going to repeat this process 2 more times. I'm going to do it next with the crystal blue. Remember, each time you make a dot, you're going to go down just a little bit. And they're going to get just a little bit shorter. So 8 crystal blue dots with your 4mm tool. And then 8 crystal blue swoops. And the 4th and final set here is with the tropical blue. So again, 4mm dot, down just a little bit. So you do your tropical blue dots, and then your tropical blue swoops. Got just a smidge of touch up I need to do. Don't ever be afraid to touch up. I had a little bit of these go outside the lines, but I wanted them to go, so it's not cheating if you touch up. And sometimes when I do swoops or swipes, I will go into the dot that it's next to. So I like to clean that up if I need to. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I had some space that I wanted to fill in. I certainly think that this design is pretty as it is right now, but I added these little diamond and paisley marks next to what I just did to fill in some space, and I am going to do that today. So down here on the right hand side of this petal that we just created, I am going to use my Stormy, and I'm going to make a dot, and then I'm going to pull it into a teardrop with either my 1mm stylus, my tiny stylus, or a pencil tip, and that point is going to go towards this little dot right here. I'm going to do that all the way around, so there are 8 of those. Visually, it kind of goes in between the rhinestone and that little crystal blue dot we've got. So 8 little 4mm teardrops. The next thing I'm going to do, again in this empty space, is I've got this kind of paisley type teardrop here, and I created that by using my 8mm tool. I created a dot, and then I used my stylus to pull the dot on one side. Okay, you want to use your judgment because we all work kind of with different spacing. If you feel like that 8mm tool still that size works for you, you can fill that in. If you need to go down a size, don't be afraid to go down a size. There's no right or wrong here. Okay, I'm going to use Stormy, and I'm going to create that 8mm dot, and then I'm going to get a stylus tool and I'm just going to pull it on one side, and that's how I create kind of that paisley look. once you finish with this, we are done with the base of the design, and you can go bonkers with your top dots. So totally up to you if you want to add top dots. I did list them on the guide. In the center, I used my 6mm tool and my tropical blue. Those two colors look very similar on my camera. For whatever reason, my camera doesn't pick up the greens in some colors. So there are 2 dots there. Then what I did was I used my 4mm tool, or you could use your 3mm stylus. And in these dots here, this ring, I added 4mm Stormy dots, and I made them off center. I placed them kind of to the right, because all of this design is kind of off center to the right. But it's up to you. You could totally center them and it would still look just as pretty. Then in this next ring of turquoise blue dots, I used a 6mm tool and crystal blue, and I created off-center dots again towards the right. I'm going a little smaller this time around. I'm going with my 4mm tool, but I feel like my dots just weren't as big as I was creating today. Make sure when you do top dots, your previous layer is dry enough to be able to dot on top. Our swooshes are pointing to this stormy blue dot right here. And in that dot, I took my 2.5mm tool and again created a lavender dot. I did mine off center. And the last thing I did was right next to this rhinestone, we've got a row, or we walked the dots. And I added a set of top dots where I walked the dots. Again, it's hard to see on the camera because the colors are similar. I did lavender on top of the lavender stormy mixture. Of course, you can use any color you'd like. I am going to use my 1.5mm tool, and I'm just going to walk the dots right on top of that previous set of dots. Hard to see on camera, easier to see with the eye. And I just made these centered. I didn't worry about off-centering anything because these are much smaller. Now there are lots of different other ways you could add more top dots to this design, so don't be shy. Feel free to get in there and try some things out. There's no right or wrong at all. You can use, whatever extra colors of paint you have left in your palette. So you can create, for example, you can top dot on a swipe. I'm just showing you a few different things. Don't feel like you have to do it. This is a much busier pattern than some of the ones that I've created. So it doesn't necessarily need a whole lot of top dots. But don't be afraid to keep going. And of course, like always, I would love to see what you create. Please share with me in the Facebook group or in the share space. And next week we've got a recording, so keep an eye out for that. I actually just finished it and uploaded it to YouTube, so that'll go live next Monday morning. And I look forward to creating with you then. Thanks everyone. I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us, Heather and Sue.